And we're really not seeing a let up in terms of this unsettled pattern really until about late Tuesday and into Wednesday. We'll have all the details coast to coast, all the way out to Newfoundland, right here at the Weather Network. I'm Rachel Schoutsen, and thanks so much for joining us. We'll start off in BC and take a picture of this. This is what the overnight looks like. Those rain showers are going to continue, especially for the north and for the central coast. When we look at how much rain is expected, this is the puzzle here. 15 to 30 millimeters of rain. That's highlighted in the darker greens here, so you can see that edge of Vancouver Island, Tofino. You're going to be getting into some of those higher amounts. When we talk about the snow, look at this. This is interesting here in terms of those freezing levels. The freezing levels are actually going down. They're looking better now than they did throughout March and February. So when we see Whistler, yeah, you're looking at snow in the forecast, and we are looking at bad driving conditions, especially on the Coquihalla. If you take a look at Drive BC, you can see a live look at some of the highways, and it really is treacherous conditions through here. The wind story as well. Earlier, we did have some wind warnings in place throughout Alberta. Very gusty conditions around Calgary, just to the south. Okotoks, you were included in that. We will have this cold front pass through. This is going to be some mixing to the north. There's the potential to see some convective activity as well throughout the overnight in terms of east of Calgary, stretching in throughout southern Saskatchewan as well. And the winds throughout Ontario. Boy, was it a windy day on Friday. I want to take you to this now, this must-see video. Have a look. This isn't... Well, I'm glad you're here. It's time for it, the weather selfie. That's when we feature you on TV. And our weather selfie comes from Mississauga. Have a look at this. This is Ronald Fenton.
Are we in the dome from the Hunger Games? I don't know if we are, but just in case. Back to you, Rachel.
The Hunger Games reference, that was a good one, Ron. And you know what? You couldn't be more right. The weather has been pretty wacky over the past few days in Mississauga. But look at this. Mississauga, 18 degrees, full sunshine. That's going to be Sunday afternoon. I'm going to say Sunday is looking the most like spring that we've seen in the forecast for quite a while. This is the 7-day for Mississauga here. Look at this. Monday, 20 degrees. We could see some convective activity late day. I want to take you now into Winnipeg. Leslie, 15 degrees on Sunday. Another beautiful, perfect forecast here. Great sunshine, and over the next 7 days, this is what it's like. 15 degrees, 19 degrees on Tuesday. So I would love if you could connect with us here on the Weather Netcast right across the country. We are looking at beautiful conditions throughout southern Ontario into Quebec as well. Watching out for this cold front here to spark up some of that convective activity. Alrighty, now I want to take you to our segment called No Limits. Here's Deb with some wild rafting. Wild stuff there, and I want to thank so much Kirsten for sending in this one. Great smiles in Niagara Falls, and we also have this pup enjoying the sun in Cambridge.
Go to the weather.
Ontario, some of the peak wind gusts on Friday, over 80 kilometers an hour. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. Thanks so much for joining us. This is a look at your national forecast. We're going to start off in BC here, where the week is unsettled. The rain is going to continue, especially on the central and northern coast. Vancouver Island, you'll be getting wet as well. And when we look at the rain forecast, okay, notice the darker greens here. That's 30 plus millimeters of rain, but this only takes into account through till Sunday. So you're really bracing for a lot more here. And this story, I love this story because when we look at the freezing levels, they are better now in terms of making snow from the mountains than they were back in February and March, close to 1,000 meters in some areas, where in March, well, they were close to almost 2,500. So snow throughout the mountains, and unfortunately, this is creating very treacherous conditions on the Coquihalla, especially down to Allison Pass. If you look at Drive BC, if you look at some of those webcams, we are really seeing a treacherous drive. Now, in terms of those winds, I'll show you some pictures of damaging winds in a second throughout Ontario. But watch as this cold front comes through. We'll see some peak winds along that cold front. This could also spark up some convective activity as the cold front passes through, especially east of Calgary here. And then let's look at those temperatures. Okay, the unsettled forecast, you can see that for BC. The city of Toronto saw peak wind gusts at around 84 kilometers an hour. I was down in Port Colborne on Friday reporting on some of those winds, and it was very gusty along those northern shores of Lake Erie. The good news is high pressure is essentially sitting right over the GTA, and that's a good spot for it to sit because that's where we're going to see some very calm winds. We're seeing beautiful weather for Sunday. I want you to notice this though, as this cold front comes through, we could see some non-severe storms up through northwestern Ontario, and this is looking to be Sunday evening. Now this rain will continue to push through Ontario, and by Monday evening it's going to be into the GTA. We'll get into the Atlantic story coming up throughout the hour, but I want to show you this per hour. So a very windy day. We also had wind warnings in place on Saturday throughout southern Alberta. And you can see this, a national look at some of our winds. When you notice those reds coming up on the screen, that's sustained winds. So not the gusts, sustained winds. If you follow the legend here, 40 to 60 kilometers an hour. So that is a very breezy day. Now we are looking at a very calm day in terms of the winds throughout Ontario and Quebec. It's going to feel like spring. Still seeing a cool day out through Newfoundland. And then when we look at the rain story, that's the big story out on the coast of BC. An unsettled week. Really, conditions do not improve until late Wednesday. You can see 15 to 30 millimeters of rain. This only takes into account your forecast through till Sunday. So yeah, we are going to be tacking on a lot more. Pretty good system coming through Monday throughout the day. This is your wind forecast throughout the prairies through the overnight. Some pretty calm conditions, and that will continue to ease throughout Alberta during the overnight, picking up again slightly in through Sunday. And the temperatures, because this is what everybody wants to know this time of year. Where are they going? You can see where some of that heat is finally throughout the GTA. I know a lot of people there really wanting to feel this. This is the forecast for Sunday morning. 10 degrees in Winnipeg. You had a record-breaking day in terms of the heat. And this is a snapshot into Monday. Active weather.
This weather segment has...
We are about to get into a new episode of Storm Hunters here. Yeah, airs every weekend throughout the evening on the Weather Network. But first, let's get into your national forecast. This is what Sunday is going to look like right across the country. Notice where the jet stream is. It perfectly allows St. John's, unfortunately, in Newfoundland to be in some very unsettled weather. We are looking at a pleasant day throughout the Maritimes, especially through southern Quebec and southern Ontario. Cooler across the prairies, and that wet and unsettled week, it's going to continue throughout the coast of BC, especially into Monday, Tuesday. We're even seeing mountain snows coming back into play. But now, let's get into Storm Hunters. We're about to get back into this episode of Storm Hunters here, but I want to take a look at our national forecast and what you can expect for Sunday. We are looking at a beautiful day throughout Ontario and Quebec. Very warm temperatures. You can see where this comes into play here. It's going to look beautiful. Monday, we see that heat again across the prairies, even stretching into Ontario. We still see that cool air along the BC coast, however. This is a little snapshot of Sunday. 15 degrees for the city of Toronto, 10 in Vancouver, so you can see a little bit of the cooler trend coming into play here. And then Monday, look at Toronto, 18 degrees, Ottawa at 19.